Hello, listeners. Welcome back. It's the Gibbie. We're going to go back to the Katawa Shoujo. Lunch Evolution Theory. After saying hi to Shizune and Misha, I started doing the work as instructed from the board. It already looks like today is going to be heavy. I don't have a problem with that now, though. Shizune and Misha might jump on me trying to get an answer about whether or not I've decided to join the student council, even if it's just one day. I wouldn't put it past them to try, and I don't have an answer for them if they do, so this situation is convenient for me. About 10 minutes into class, Hanako walks in and takes a seat, but no one looks at her. The teacher doesn't even comment on her lateness. He does, however, stop us to say that we're going to break into groups again. I turn my head and see that Shizune and Misha are looking at me. Shizune gives me a smile that is equal parts cute and menacing. This is a smile that says, "We have you now. There's no escape."
Hik-chan, it looks like we're together again. Yay, yay!
Misha leans sideways while Shizune pushes her desk closer to mine. There really is no escape now, unless I were to jump through the window. Jumping out the window isn't the best option, sadly.
What's wrong, Hik-chan? Oh, Hik-chan, have you been thinking about what you said yesterday? You said that you would think about joining the student council, didn't you? It's okay, Hik-chan. We were talking about it after you left, and it would be rude to expect you to already have an answer for us this early, right? Right? Ha 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 ha!
I'm so happy you two are able to laugh at my expense, and even more pleased to know that you both know how crazy the two of you can be. Now that that's over, Shizune snaps back into serious mode and smacks today's assignment with the back of her hand in an overly dramatic and important way. When I actually look at the stuff, it's mostly just reading. In fact, there are only two problems. I almost want to say something about her rush to get started seems a bit much, but considering the small amount of work. In fact, Shizune probably knows how little there is, and simply doesn't care. Yeah, it seems like the workload doesn't matter to her as much as the fact that there is work. The actual amount is unimportant. She approaches everything with the same level of ambition. While I'm reading, I let my eyes wander around the room and catch Hanako trying her hand at solving the problems. It looks like she's working alone. I can't remember seeing her work with other people before. Thinking back to how shy she is, it's understandable.
Hey, that girl over there.
Huh?
Who, Hik-chan?
Her, Hanako, over there. Does she always work alone?
I think so, Hik-chan. Do you feel sorry for her because she's alone?
I was just thinking that maybe she could work with us or something.
No, I don't think that would be a good idea, Hik-chan.
Why not?
Shik-chan wouldn't get along with her.
Why? Misha shuffles around the question, letting out a laugh that sounds very strange. It's nervous, but still has that lilting up and down quality present in everything she says.
Just because, Hik-chan.
By now, Shizune has noticed our conversation, and it makes me realize again how Misha has been signing everything she has been saying this whole time.
What, Shik-chan? The friend of an enemy is my enemy? That sounds harsh. I'm not gonna say that.
You said it anyway.
I know, Hik-chan. It's fine if you overhear.
I wonder if this is Misha's way of keeping things fair, since without her, I wouldn't be able to understand a thing Shizune is saying, and vice versa. Is that also why she signs all the time, so there is never a conversation Shizune will be left out of?
Anyway, we should start on the problems now, Hik-chan.
We finish with time to spare, and I decide to ask if there are any alternatives to the cafeteria, as frankly, the food so far has been subpar. This sends Shizune and Misha arguing among themselves about their favorite restaurants. All of them are downtown, so I don't think we'll have time to go to all the way there. And what about the bill? Are they just arguing for the fun of it? Maybe. They seem so distracted by it that they don't even notice the start of the actual lunch break. I look over my shoulder towards the back of the classroom. She seems to be studying her notes from the previous class. It's an odd sight. Everyone else in the class is busying themselves with the lunch break. Socializing, gossiping, rearranging desks. The ones with actual boxed lunches mixed in and chattering like everyone else, only interrupted by short bouts of eating. But when I watch Hanako, it feels that I'm the only one who can see her, almost as if she was invisible, sort of hiding in plain sight. Is she being bullied? Is she isolating herself from the rest of the class on her own accord? I see her look over her shoulder towards the classroom's rear door. Come to think of it, she hasn't turned a page since I started watching her. I guess she's waiting for someone. What to do? Let's read my book. I do what I always do when I don't know what to do. Like now. I've already started on one of the books I borrowed yesterday, and took it with me to school to fill the empty moments between classes. I find the page that I creased the corner of to mark the spot I left yesterday night, and pick up from there. Misha and Shizune are still arguing heatedly, probably about restaurants still. If I join them, I just get caught up in that, or worse, get grilled about joining the student council. Misha isn't speaking aloud since there is nobody who'd need to hear what they are talking about. But why does she tend to sign things even when Shizune doesn't need to understand what's being said? Or even more strangely, when Shizune is not around at all? What an odd conflict of habits. I find it hard to focus on the book, and besides, the lunch break beckons me to leave the dullness of the classroom. So I do, heading down for the cafeteria. Misha and Shizune, having come to a conclusion of one kind or another, follow in my wake, though still talking in their animated fashion. Just around the corner of the hallway, something hits me in the chest with the force of a runaway train. Ow! Opening my eyes, I see a pair of saucer-like green eyes looking up at me. They belong to the perpetrator, a short girl who bumped into me and has now fallen down onto the hallway floor. She wears a PE uniform and a very worried frown. The former strikes me as a rather strange thing to have on during a lunch break. More striking than that, though, is that she doesn't have legs. Or she does, but they're not flesh and bone. Her pale and very much flesh and bone thighs and the shins, and feet made of some black metallic or plastic-like material. They look disturbingly artificial and unnatural. It almost makes me forget that my chest is hurting. The girl winces a little, rubs her nose, and jumps up.
Aw, man. Hey, are you alright? I'm sorry about that, really. I wasn't looking where I was going, and you just came out of nowhere. Sorry.
She's looking really apologetic, in the hurt puppy way of looking apologetic. I quickly forget about being angry or anything, since hurt puppies are my weak spot.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Ow. I say that, but there's a stinging pain growing in my chest, and I know that this is about the biggest possible danger for my condition. Don't overexert yourself. Don't forget your medication, and most of all, don't get hit in the chest. I try to rub my solar plexus to chase the pain away, holding my breath in an attempt to hear my heartbeat. It seems normal.
Hey, should I get a nurse?
The worried, high-pitched voice of the girl snaps me out of it. I stare at her for a few seconds, dumbfounded, until I realize that I probably looked worse off than I really was, doubled over myself and looking all tense. Damn, I'm overly worried about my heart.
No need, I'm fine.
Managing to say something in response, I pull myself upright, feeling my sore ribs one last time, and take a deep breath. She just knocked the wind out of me. Big time. But it's nothing more than that.
You sure you're okay? I hit you pretty hard. It's okay. I said I was fine, and nothing's broken.
No harm done.
That's good.
I feel a hand on my shoulder at the same time the girl's eyes. Ah. I feel a hand on my shoulder at the same time the girl's eyes widen in horror, and whatever she is saying gets interrupted by a very horrified...
Yeep!
I don't have time to look behind me because Shizune is already shoving me aside and stomping over to the girl, signing furiously at her.
Miss Ibarazaki, I saw that. Running in the halls is strictly forbidden.
Misha translates right on Shizune's tail, but her voice is girlishly playful, not full of divine fury Shizune's arm movements would seem to call for.
Sorry. I was just going to get some stuff, and I was kind of in a hurry. You've been told this 1,000 times. Your reckless behavior endangers other students, and even worse, it's explicitly against the school regulations.
The girl blushes and starts to fidget nervously, like a child caught misbehaving. It's so cute, I find myself smiling.
I know that. Make sure that this will not happen again. Although I'm sure telling you this is futile, and only causes me further headache when you choose to ignore the regulations. Got that, Emmy?
The small girl sticks out her tongue in response.
I gotta go. Teacher will have my head, I promised with printouts, but I went running instead. Sorry, but I've got to change and everything. Clicky, clicky, clicky.
Before Misha or Shizune or I can say anything, she's already bolted from where she was a second ago, almost halfway towards the stairwell. Shizune looks like she's about to go nuclear on the spot, so I smile at her in a vain attempt to calm her down.
Are you okay, Hik-chan? That Ibarazaki girl is always like that, causing trouble to others.
You know, I'm pretty certain Shizune wouldn't call me Hik-chan.
Never mind.
Yeah, anyway, I'm okay. I just got the wind knocked out of me.
That's great, Hik-chan.
I wouldn't call that great, but I let it slide this one time.
We have to run now. There is an important student council meeting regarding the festival, and we finally decided where to eat. Too bad you can't join, but this lunch meeting is only for council members. We can take you there some other time. Oh, but that'd be like a date, wouldn't it?
The girls leave for downstairs. I didn't manage to get far from the third-floor hallway before all this commotion struck, literally. I should get going as well. The lunch and the afternoon class pass uneventfully. I read most of the books I had started yesterday, and eat some of the mostly inedible offerings at the cafeteria. The class is tiresome. The teacher seems to be an okay person, despite the weird first impression I got, and the material is relatively interesting. However, the way he teaches is really bizarre. It's as if he expects that everyone is a natural genius. When the final bell sounds, I realize that there is still a lot of time left in the day, and I'm left wondering what to do. It's odd. At the hospital, I had 24 hours a day of free time, but here, filling the considerably shorter hours feels difficult. Everyone else leaves, and I'm alone with the teacher. Mutao is examining the assignment sheets we were working on earlier, marking them with a red ball pen. Raising his eyes from his papers briefly, he notices me and furrows his brow. "What is it, Nakai?" I jump at him addressing me, but I guess it's natural to spark some conversation since there is nobody else around.
Nothing.
Thinking about what I do after school. The teacher slowly puts the cap on the pen he's holding and arranges his papers into a stack, clacking it against the desk twice. He seems very methodical, and for a brief moment, I'm reminded of Shizune, but the teacher is more unhurried and relaxed, much more routined. You have no plans? No, I considered joining a club, but I don't know what kind of club would interest me. Go observe a meeting of someone else's club. Might pique your interest. I guess. But I don't know how to continue from there. Mewtwo looks at me in a way that makes me quickly want to take the words back to avoid a conversation. But I can't, so I have to forge ahead. I just don't know how to deal with people. I mean, the other students. I'm talking to people and everything, so it's not that I'd be isolated or anything. I just don't know what to think about. The disabilities, it's like, it feels that I'm going to be being impolite if I pay attention to them, and it's weird to ignore them. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. The teacher scratches his cheeks absent-mindedly, looking very unresponsive. These things are only an issue if you make them one. You can talk normally with someone, even if they're blind or something. Try to look behind the superficial. There's not a single student here who isn't just a normal kid behind whatever they might seem at first glance. He says the same thing that Yuko did. I know they're right, but it's hard. How can you not consider, for example, Shizune's deafness, when the only way to communicate with her is to talk through Misha? Or Hanako? It's not like you can ignore her face. But... I'm interrupted by the door of the classroom suddenly slamming open. Teacher! Misha crashes in, hands straight in an enthusiastic greeting, her voice loud and lively enough to wake the dead from their graves. She starts towards the teacher's desk with her bouncing step, hands energetically swinging with the rhythm. Mewtwo, visibly dismayed at the interruption, and Misha in general, slumps in his chair. Mikaido... Misha stops in her tracks and looks around cluelessly, as if she's sensing from his tone that something's wrong, but has no idea what. Yes? We have talked about volume control before. Yes? But she doesn't lower her voice at all, and the teacher just rubs his eyes. So, what is it? We need help. We're running out of supplies for the festival stands. This is a distress! She waves a pink slip of paper she's holding around. So, go get more supplies from the art room. What's the problem with that? Plywood! Plywood is always the problem. Last time we wanted more, there was only a little. But that time, we just took it all, and went with that. Now that's like there's none left there. So do you know where there is some? I don't understand. How would I know? Shik-chan? I mean, the president thought that a teacher would know if there is a plywood. Was she wrong? Mewtwo looks like he's in great pain, frowning with his entire essence, and Misha doesn't get it at all. Looking at the two of them communicate is terrible, like looking at a man being tortured by drilling his skull open while blasting pop music at full volume at the same time. I'm afraid I have no idea if there's any plywood in the school, let alone where it would be if there was any. What should I do? Perhaps try and find Mr. Nomiya? Mr. Nomiya? I'm quite sure he would know where to find everything you need. You'd have to pry them from his cold, dead hands, but that's a different matter. I don't have any time. We're so busy. She holds her head with both of her hands, looking as despairing as She holds her head with both of her hands, looking as despairing as it's possible for a person like her. Without even noticing, she crumples the note she's holding against her hair. I shouldn't even be fetching these things. There's so much to do, we're falling behind the schedule. Mewtwo looks at her gravely, and then suddenly smiles. Smiling doesn't really fit his face. I think it'd be better if he didn't. I wonder if you could get some temporary help. He switches to staring at me focusedly, with a hard expression, as if trying to say, go make some friends. I guess I can give you guys a hand. You can? Thanks, Hik-chan. You're really nice. She pauses, does a double take, and then points at me with a finger, yelping, "Ah!" and looking very puzzled.
Come to think of it, what's Hik-chan doing here? Class is over, you should be having fun.
We just had a little chat.
Oh no, it's not detention, is it? Are you in trouble, Hik-chan?
No, I'm not.
Is Hik-chan in trouble, teacher?
No, he's not. Miyata sighs deeply, and I feel that I have to help Misha to get her off the teacher's back.
So what do you need? Here's a list. I can try to find the plywood somewhere, but if there's none in the art room...
She offers me the note she's holding. I hesitate. I take it, hesitating a bit. I said I'd help you, but this has no implications on whether I'm joining the council or not.
No. Still, thanks, Hik-chan. Try to be quick. We are in a stall building streak right now. We must hurry, hurry, hurry.
She bounces out of the classroom, leaving me and the teacher looking at each other with something that feels like a silent agreement. Well, there you have it, Nakai. You have something to do now. Please don't sound so smug. Looking at the list with a number of items ranging from paint to plywood, all written with small, neat handwriting that is undoubtedly Shizune's, I heave a sigh. I'll be going then. Waving the long list limply at the teacher, I exit to the hallway. The classrooms closest to ours are designated belonging to classes 3-1 and 3-2 on the right side, and 3-4 on the left side, each door looking exactly the same. Further down the corridor still, with identical doors, are rooms that I didn't think were used for classes. I guess the art room is not a classroom as such. I carefully push open the furthest door and peek in. It's a classroom, but it seems rather badly kept or not in use. Am I in the right place? Desks and chairs are all around the room. A thin layer of dust is settled on them. There are some easels in the corners, so at least this looks like the right place. The room is flush with sunlight from the big windows, shadows creeping all over the desks. Specks of dust are dancing in the stagnant air, making the beams of light almost visible. Jokingly, I call into the empty room. "Anybody home?" Something catches my eye and I stop mid-sentence. Sitting on the desk is a short-haired girl, curiously wearing a boy's uniform, with a fork between her toes, a morsel of food stuck firmly in the end. This odd way of dining seems to be caused by her apparent lack of hands, but her presence here is what takes me aback even more. How did I miss her before? She's sitting in a corner very still, but I still somehow took her as part of the furnishings or a statue at first glance. I'm not being too observant today as a whole. The girl seems to be frozen in place, staring at me with her huge eyes like a rabbit in headlights. She's staring at me, her mouth open wide, ready to accept the fork. I'm staring at her, my mouth wide open, suddenly remembering I didn't finish my sentence and trying to think if I should. This weird stalemate keeps us both stunned into silence, punctuated only by the wall clock ticking rhythmically.
Hello.
The girl stuffs the fork in her mouth, and is now staring at me expectantly while chewing. This is a bit awkward.
Hello.
I was told to pick up some supplies from here. For some festival stalls, I think. I didn't think there would be anyone here.
There isn't. That's why I came here too.
She picks up another forkful. Doesn't that mean you're here then? She raises her eyebrows as if she was suspecting my observation was false.
You're pretty observant. I guess it does. But who are you?
This girl is pretty straightforward, isn't she? I'm Nakai, Hisao Nakai. I just transferred in on Monday.
I'm Rin. Tezuka Rin. Rin Tezuka.
I won't shake hands with you, but at least we know who we are now.
That's very nice.
Her deadpan manner of talking makes it hard to determine whether she is joking about shaking hands or not. I guess I should change the voice. It kind of bothers me. Joking about these matters doesn't feel appropriate at all. While I'm trying to figure out what's appropriate and whether this girl is, she seems to have lost interest in me and is now gazing yearningly back at her food.
Can I continue my lunch? If you don't mind me, I won't mind you. If you need to get your stuff, the supplies are at the back.
Go right ahead, but
Lunch? School's already over for the day. What word would you use then? There is no word for a meal you eat after lunch but before dinner, right? It bothers me very much too, but I don't really know what I should say. I don't think you're supposed to eat a meal between lunch and dinner to begin with. But I'm hungry now, and my delicious boxed lunch would go to waste otherwise. I have curry. It is very delicious.
With much decisiveness, Rin once again picks up the fork between her toes, and with at least as much impoliteness, she points it straight at me.
So, Nakai, what brings you to this place?
Like I said, I was told to look for these things.
No, the school. From the outside you look fine. Is your problem inside?
I come to a full stop, opening my mouth but not getting a word out.
I can guess. I'm good at guessing. Better than most people.
Rin cuts me off before I can answer her question or skirt around it somehow. I don't know which I would have done. I froze in front of this issue again. I haven't even told anyone here about my condition, or maybe it's only because it hasn't really come up. I do get the feeling that not making issues of this is a part of social code here, as the teacher said. I wonder if the people here could relate. Probably not any better than any normal person could. I can't relate to Shizune's circumstance, or Lily's either. Naturally, while I go through this in my head, Rin keeps considering what my condition could be, with an overtly contemplative look on her face. She puts her fork between her lips and leans back, looking at the ceiling as if the answer was written up there. A beam of light illuminates her face from the window, creating a mask of dark shadow on the other side.
I don't think it's anything in your head. And something in your guts would be boringly ordinary, like this lunch of mine, and less delicious. The problem must be in your pants.
This messed up Sherlock Holmes kind of statement and sheer lack of tact it was delivered with catches me completely off guard. I think I might have reeled back even physically as Rin's eyes widen in revelation and astonishment.
So I was right. There's something wrong with your tackle, isn't there?
Still partially in shock, but recognizing the need to reply something, I spit out the first thing I can think of.
No, it's nothing like that. I have a heart problem. Arrhythmia. No, nothing like that. I have a heart problem. Arrhythmia.
I said it. More like I blurted it out, but I said it. The girl in front of me purses her lips together and glowers at me, looking very disappointed.
How boring. Trouble in the pants would have been much more scandalous.
What's with this reaction?
I'm sorry to let you down. I forgive you. Just, I collect people, and a person with, that kind of problem would have been really great.
Collect people?
People with different problems.
Huh. So you just, go around asking people what's wrong with them?
Pretty much.
I see. With little left to say, Rin resumes her lunch and the conversation, but I keep thinking about what she said. It's the first time I told anyone else about my condition. All the other people have either known about it already, or heard it from somebody else, or didn't need to know about it, like every other student here so far. Should I have told it as a natural part of introductions? Is it expected of me? Hi, I'm Hisao. I have a serious heart condition. Is that how I'm supposed to go around introducing myself from now on? As if our disabilities would define us. What a disgusting thought. Or maybe this Tezuka girl just has an unnatural interest in such things. As I walk to the back of the room to pick up the items on Misha's list, a chance opens to study Rin from the corner of my eye. Her hair is a burnt auburn, almost orange, and cropped short. Long hair would be impossible with no arms. The boy's uniform and lack of arms make her look very thin, almost scrawny. She's not particularly pretty except those murky green eyes, which flicker restlessly from below her short bangs, even when she eats. The distance and the shadows make it seem like they don't reflect sunlight at all, but instead absorb it all within them like deep wells. She moves her feet almost as deftly as a normal person would use their arms. However, I can see how this sight could discomfort people, especially while eating. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, at least. I hesitate to think about the word unnatural, but it's too late now, isn't it? Keep searching the cabins and shelves for Misha's things, but after enough time passes, the silence grows too uncomfortable, so I try to force some conversation out of this strange girl.
So, do you always eat alone when this late? Or do you get the occasional visitor? Visitors. Maybe you're my first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes I eat with a certain person on the roof if she's not horsing around.
Horsing?
She likes to do sports.
Oh. And that's all I can think of to say. Both of us fall silent again as Rin forks the last bits of her meal into her mouth. I look down at my haul and double check it with Misha's list. It seems to have everything except plywood.
So I think I have all the things now. That's very nice for you. Don't feel obliged to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. You need to do whatever you're going to do with that stuff anyway, right? Or perhaps you like to watch girls sleeping.
I'm not sure what to make of this, but Ren looks serious.
Even if I did, I think I have to be going. I'll catch you around, Suka. You can call me Ren. I feel that our relationship is at a point good enough to warrant this much.
I was already turning to make my exit, but she draws me back in.
Fine, then I'm Hisao. Then you are.
Ren looks at me hard in the eyes, but that intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. It looks like she's not actually looking at me at all. She blinks a couple times, and I can't figure out why a pause like this just popped between us out of nowhere.
See you later, Hisao.
Something like a tiny smile there in her face. Maybe. I quietly back out of the room. As I shut the door in front of my face, I whisper to myself,
"What an intriguing person."
From inside, I hear a muffled sing-song voice.
I heard that. What did she hear?
I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had not heard approaching despite the completely empty hallway. Somehow she had gotten to jumping distance of me without making a sound. Creepy. It briefly reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about the global feminist conspiracy, but I pushed that thought aside. Shizune, standing slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention. But Misha is visibly excited.
No, wait. More importantly, who is in there? There's no club meetings today.
She tries to curiously peek past me, even though the door prevents her from seeing in anyways.
What are you doing here? You took so long that we had to come back to check to see what was wrong. That's no good, Hik-chan.
She wags her finger at me scoldingly.
I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you are tardy.
Oh, sorry. I got the things here. I was just going to bring them.
I think you were up to some mischief, Hik-chan. Who was in there with you, I wonder?
Misha signs something quickly to Shizune, pointing out her own ear a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes her way past me and opens the door into the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she is experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much to bear. And indeed, she stares at Rin, frozen in place apart from the slight but noticeable trembling of her shoulders. From suppressed rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, and slams the door shut, turning to sign furiously at me. Maybe she didn't blow up, but I can't understand it. Maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. She shoots a very loaded stare at me too, as if it was somehow my fault that Rin was sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness.
Hello.
Rin's voice comes from the other side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize she might have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Rin directly behind it, looking at us with a half-interested, half-sleepy face.
Hello? Miss Tezuka, what do you think you are doing? You are absolutely not permitted to use school property for such disgraceful activity. I'm sure it's suddenly very crowded. It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was this popular.
It's hard to say whether she's happy or unhappy at this turn of events. At any rate, she ignores Shizune and Misha's scolding, so they have no choice but to drop the issue. Shizune taps Misha's shoulder, points at Rin, and makes some quick signs.
Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. Anyway, how's your project going? Will it be done for the festival?
Rin looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure of Shizune's cold stare as putting her in her.
I keep wondering about that myself too. And? We'll think about it harder.
As Misha signs her reply to Shizune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown.
Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch on it.
Rin nods assertively.
We'll think more seriously.
Misha actually giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't, not even after the translation. She just shakes her head, takes the materials from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo.
How rude. It's true though. I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it. Like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to unforeseen future.
I am about to ask what project she has, and what are these apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art room.
Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it.
She lightly kicks a huge can of paint that's lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. Being the gentleman I am, I naturally pick it up. Happy.
Yeah, sure. Where do you need to take it? Away.
And with that, she takes off to the hallway, and the paint can following, since there's little choice for either of us. The hallway is quiet and empty now, with Shizune and Misha gone, so we too leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to another because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. Ren strolls beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching, or maybe I am walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems that one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which one. 2 flights of stairs below, Trouble appears in the form of the nurse and his fox-like grin.
Ah, Mr. Nikai. What a happy coincidence. Tezuka too, of course.
I remember his voice now. He nods courteously to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me because obviously it's me who he had some business with. There's something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait impassively because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about this interruption either. It's about your medications. Since you haven't been taking that long on your current medications, there might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting dosages or even changing to another kind of medication. So we will do a few tests regularly, but what I'd want is for you to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off. If you get what I mean. Nausea, headache, anything. Come see me if something happens. Alright. So how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me that too. Teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about this. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seem very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway. That's great. Oh, also, one more thing. My sources tell me that you've been at neither the school track nor even the pool, so I'd like to know if you've taken up exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but his hot way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off on the track since the very first day.
have people spying on me? Not as such. I just happen to know a few people. But that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually just doing some improvised weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift the can up and down a few times, like some sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down my arms painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back like it was never gone. Tezuka, would you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he doesn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you are still in your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that the habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything, like dieting. Can you promise me to be more serious about this from now on? Yes. Yes, I promise. Definitely. He studies me for a moment, then shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you go down to the school trek tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consultation to you if you wanted to jog a bit. Consultation? See you around. He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer, and I walk to Rin, who has been waiting, idly leaning against the hallway wall and staring at the pale light fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting medications for your heart thingy? Were you listening? It comes out more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out on her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's none of her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about confidentiality too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Ren's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulder quizzically, her head tilted like a bird's. I don't know why this is so hard for me. It feels like there is some inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're for my heart. Will they make you better? No, not really. They just make me a little less worse. Rin keeps looking at me for a while longer, and she neither says anything further, nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. I'm thankful that she doesn't. I think I'm still not quite used to all this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted my feelings about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building, and Rin leads us onwards towards the dorm. We stop at the small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built on slightly elevated ground with a wall and a few trees that everyone has to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design about the school. The entire wall, made up from the same bricks as the building itself, has been covered with some kind of painting. Most of it is still mere sketches, quick lines drawn with black or white against the gray plastering that covers most of the entire length of the wall. But some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seem to be paint cans are arranged in piles on the ground beside the wall. See? The left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I couldn't get in the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate instead. Then it was suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from the art class are helping with the negative spaces and the base surfaces whenever, which is a problem. It's easier to paint big areas if there are a lot of people with hands. The reach is better, and it's faster too. She goes on a tangent of a tangent, waving a little with her arm, or whatever of it there actually is, to demonstrate even though I've got the point already. The white cotton of her sleeve flaps around, and it makes me think it could look sadder than it does. But it makes me feel out of place, like almost every tangible reminder of a student base's special properties has in the past few days. The girl doesn't notice my dreary feelings, of course, or the fact that she has lost me a while ago already.
and just keeps on blabbering.
So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there's something I need to figure out, and then figure that out before it's too late and all hope is lost.
Why would all hope be lost?
Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to dry, and then it has to be painted over with another kind of paint. It takes time.
She finally stops, apparently thinking she made some kind of statement that makes sense. I think it's best to start from the top.
So this is your project? You did this? Yes.
All of it?
Yes.
Nice, but I stumble with my words, suddenly feeling like I've walked straight into a minefield of political incorrectness.
It's okay, you can say it. I probably won't get mad.
I blush really hard. I don't really know what would be the right thing to say, if any. It feels that I'm way more sensitive than Rin is, though. This is really awkward.
Don't you want to ask?
How do you paint without hands?
See, I'm an easy person to talk to, right? With my feet.
I almost guessed that already, but isn't that hard to do?
You're good at guessing. Anyway, I don't think it is. Maybe I'm just used to it by now.
I can't get my mind around the fact that she could be an artist, but seeing how adept she was at using her feet to eat, I figure painting might not be a problem either. Neither of us has anything more to add to the subject.
The afternoon light works pretty well. I was afraid it'd look too flat, but it's not like that after all. I think it's actually pretty interesting. I wanted to see what it looks like in dim light. Do you think that it's flat? Well, paintings tend to be flat. Not like that flat, you know, flat, like some people are. No substance, no meat where there should be some. I know a few girls who...
Okay, I get it. But I couldn't really tell. I'm not very good with art. I can't name many artist or artistic terms, so I don't really have anything to say. Rin shrugs her shoulders at that, saying, "Suit yourself," without saying it, and looks up at the sky as if trying to look for something up there.
I didn't think I'd get any actual work done, but if you give me a hand with the paints, I could do a little before it gets too dark. I wanted to get a halogen lamp like the ones they have at the sports track, but there aren't any.
Rin sure is quick to recruit help, as was Shizune. It makes me feel that the festival is such a big project that every pair of hands is needed.
Why not? I'm not sure if I can really be of any help, though.
I got that voice wrong.
It's just mixing up some paints. You can do that. Probably. Do you have motor control problems like, you know, those people who have some? Cerebral palsy, maybe?
Not that I know of.
I get it. Heart thingy has nothing to do with that.
She gives me a sly look for no reason. No, it doesn't.
Let's do it then.
She sits on an empty wooden box and very naturally picks up a wide brush between the toes of her bare right foot. I open a few cans and pour some of the contents into shallow bowls for mixing. The thick paints flow lazily from the can to the bowl like syrup. I mix them, creating funny hypnotic swirling patterns that melt quickly into each other to form new monotone hue. Rin sets to work, every now and then asking me for a hand with something or other. Finding different brushes is easy enough, but mixing the paints to be the exact tone this girl is apparently seeing in her head is a frustrating ordeal. She wants precision down to the last milliliter before she is satisfied, but her instructions are obscure at best.
Add a half splash of green.
I crouch down to pick up a can of bright green.
The other green. This green.
I carefully pour some of the other green into the mixing bowl.
No, that's almost a whole splash. More white. Is green a good color to add?
No idea. You're the artist here. A hint of a smile appears in the corner of her mouth.
Do you lack an opinion?
No, it's just I have no idea.
It's okay, because I just got an idea. Add more white.
With this exclamation, I pour a minuscule amount of white into the bowl and mix it. It looks slightly whiter.
That's not good. It has to be like the color when you wake up and you know that you saw the meaning of life in your dream, but you can't remember it. Maybe it's yellow.
Despite the impossibility of mixing a color like the change of the seasons or any other nonsense that is being imposed on me, I find myself enjoying it more than I thought I would. Seeing a painting being born on a plastered wall feels like magic. I spend the moments I have between mixing paints crouching down on the paving and just to looking at her work. I'm getting a cold. It feels slightly intrusive at first, like breaking some imaginary intimacy, but Rin doesn't seem to mind it the least bit. Maybe it's just in my head. Her entire presence emits a completely different air as she patiently works the details, adding layers of paint on top of other layers of paint, steadily moving her foot across the wall to add new shapes. When I manage to produce a passable mixture of paint, the rare smile on her face is oddly rewarding. Apart from the few words when discussing paint mixes, neither of us says a word for the longest time. Even those short discussions soon evolve into shorthand, both of us developing and using weird impromptu code that works for various paints and hues, as if there was some need to conserve words and breath and sound. We stayed there late into the evening until it becomes too dark to paint properly. The sound of an alarm pulls me out of a fitful slumber and into an unpleasant state of wakefulness. Alright. We're gonna save since we have a new day. Alright. I'm going to take a break and get a drink and stop streaming so that way it goes to YouTube as a day. And I will come back hopefully more laden with sandwich. Sorry if my voices aren't doing the best right now. I kind of have a cold. But I'm trying, and it's going well, and I like the story. So, when I return...